Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Thanks for joining us today in another new episode of Night TV Live. I don't know about any of you guys, and girls out there in the audience, but I am so sick of vendors emailing me or messaging me telling me that they could have prevented the dark side breach. Why is it that every time there's a breach, salespeople reach out? And I apologize to the salespeople in my audience right now, but why is it that salespeople reach out and use that news event as a hook to tell you they could have prevented it? Oh my God. Tell me if any of you have gotten those messages. It's annoying as fuck. I hate it. Find a new way to reach out to people. All right. How you doing, everyone? Hope everyone's good. Matt Lee, thanks for joining us. Tiny Chan Cock Lee, thank you for joining us from Canada. Yeah, exactly. Ambulance chasers, thanks, Matt. Yes, there's a backup cam. I'm rocking it out. Oh yeah, look at that shit. Look at that shit. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm all about the black magic. So we are going to be covering the API security market. This has been an episode that I've been wanting to do for like the longest time. Um, it's I feel like because of the way the analyst industry works, and I won't point anyone out in particular. Some of you even know that I used to be an analyst. But I just feel like there's an identity crisis going on in the API security market. It's very fractured. It's very nascent. And it's really still trying to kind of figure itself out. Every company is saying that their way is the correct way to API security. As many of you know, I'm an influencer and a content creator, and I work with a lot of these vendors. I create content for a lot of these vendors. And I just wanted to do an episode that just kind of organized the chaos, just kind of laid it all out. And by the way, I am monitoring the chat across Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. If there are audio problems, if anyone's having issues, please let me know. Also, tell me where the best streaming platform is to grab my screen. I'm assuming YouTube is probably going to be more real time. I've noticed that Twitter in the past was really laggy. But if you guys prefer anything in particular, Kyle Bush, thanks for joining us. Was that a reference to Dogecoin, Dogecoin, Doge, that Dogeway comment? My wife is a huge cryptocurrency trader, so yeah, anything that looks like Dogecoin, I call it Dogecoin, cracks me up. Anyway, yes, there's a lot of craziness out there as far as what is the correct way to do this. So that is the point of this episode. So with that being said, let's actually get into the presentation. All right, so one of the things that I do want to say is um, hold on one second, dealing with this weird stuff with screen sharing. Um, One thing that all of you, if you have not caught my content in the past, um, one of the things you know about me or will learn about me is that a lot of the photographs in my PowerPoints never make sense. Like some people they'll do a presentation on hacking cars and they'll have pictures of cars. I just think I don't know. I just think it's boring. A lot of my photos just don't simply make sense. Janika, thanks for joining us, and thank you for the. Oh my God, Christopher Daniels, thanks for joining us. It is awesome to see you. Um, See, you are my spirit animal. All right, cool. So yes, so the photos in my PowerPoint will not make sense. So this is a quote from actually Salt Security in a recent report. Many of you have probably seen this. This is really just I think how bad it's gotten, right? So if a lot of you have seen the API vulnerability research that I've been publishing recently with the mHealth APIs that I hacked across those 30 mHealth apps, the Fire research that I'm doing now, where I'm hacking Fire APIs, the automotive research that I did, where I was hacking federal and state law enforcement vehicles through the APIs, by the way. It's just bad, right? And unfortunately, at least from my perspective, you can't really just throw a rock. You can throw a rock and hit a penetration tester that knows how to hack a Windows network, knows how to hack an IIS or an Apache Linux box. But it's really tough to throw a rock and hit a penetration tester that knows how to hack APIs. It's something that I wish more people would learn how to do. Most pen testers I talk to, they'll see JSON responses, immediately freak out. Like, oh my God, what is this? What is this? OAuth 2, what the hell is that? It's in my sister in crime, Katie Paxton Fear. I know you're out there. She is also an awesome influencer in the API security space. And so, I want hashtag more, please. I want more of you to go out there, learn how to fuzz. And we'll be talking about this. Go fuzz yourself, meaning fuzz your APIs. And so I'm going to be talking about that as well. But I wanted all of you to really understand kind of how bad it's gotten. Every single one of the APIs that I hacked across all of those vulnerability research projects were vulnerable to BOLA. They were all vulnerable to broken object level authorization attacks. I was able to access pathology reports, x-rays, medical records. And if you don't believe me, there's some amazing cinematic theatrical videos out there on my YouTube channel on that. So if you want proof in the pudding, it's out there. All of you who follow me know I back everything up with videos and evidence. So that empirical data is there. It's bad. That's why I think this episode is so timely. Okay, so what are we actually going to be covering today? I'm going to talk about myself because I always love talking about myself. I got a slide on that. The wrong approach to securing APIs. I thought, why not put a slide out there about how the wrong decisions you can make when it comes to securing APIs and how to actually create functional requirements documents or FRDs for your API security project. And I also talk about the API security market in general, where I really just kind of demystify the market for you and explain the makeup of the API security market. And then I explain what I think are the things that you need to have in your FRD. I talk about the things that you should have as a functional requirement for your API security solutions. All right, housekeeping. Subscribe, damn it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. So really working hard towards that affiliate program. If you've subscribed, call up a friend, message a friend, call a family member, tell them to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's the place to be. It is the way. For those of you who watch Mandalorian or did watch Mandalorian, this is the way. Subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon for new uploads. I do new uploads and a live stream every week, so stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored by Traceable. Now, everyone knows I'm not pay for play. However, I also need to pay the bills, so my episodes are sponsored by my clients. Today's episode is sponsored by Traceable. Yes, they are an API security solution, and no, they did not pay for this presentation. I do not do sales in ours. All of you know that. This is not a sales in R. This is just me demystifying something for you, and Traceable just happens to be an API security, and they're sponsoring this episode. So what Traceable does is they use distributed tracing to secure your APIs, discover your APIs, and most importantly, protect them against the OWASP API Security Top 10. Check them out. You can find out more information about Traceable at traceable.ai. All right. So another thing for all of you who follow me, and if you aren't, I don't know why you're on this episode watching, but welcome to my fan club, I guess, and definitely follow me. But for those of you who did see this, yesterday I did announce that part 2 of A View from the Attacker is now airing. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go to my LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn in general, and or check out elusive.com. They have the video up there. The interesting thing about this research, are you all sitting down? Are you ready for this? In this new episode, I disable EDR. So I show from the perspective of an adversary, after I've gained a foothold on the victim's network, I actually walk through uh, disabling endpoint detection and response. So for those of you who think you're secure because you're running EDR, think twice. I was trying to think of like what to say right there. Think twice, because I show how easy it is to actually disable EDR, and then because it's a pervasive issue right now, I launch ransomware and I leak encrypt, leak and lock and leak the data. So it's going to be fun. Check it out. So just a few shout outs. Mel Knight, my wife is here. That's a good thing, right? It means our marriage isn't in trouble. Mel has joined us today. Thank you, sweetheart. Appreciate you being in the audience to support me. Patrick Ben, thanks for being a subscriber. And Jared, thanks for joining us. Yes, I do see questions coming in on the chat screen. Now, just to recall, even though there's like all these screens here that all of you can see, and there's a TV on my wall right now, but I am actually flipping through my PowerPoint slideshow, so I'll flip back every once in a while to check the chat screen, but I will get to your questions. I promise it will happen. All right. So why should you listen to me? I'm a recovering hacker. I'm a published hacker. I'm a published author. I am also a published hacker. Published author on hacking APIs. Wiley has now given me my second book contract on my first book that I published, for all of you who have not read it yet, was Hacking Connected Cars. My new book, which will be coming out early next year, is a book on hacking APIs. Because if you go to Amazon, I dare you, I double dog dare you, I triple dog dare you to find a book on hacking APIs. It's not there. And for those of you who know me and follow me religiously, know that I love to create content that really doesn't exist out there, especially if it's labyrinthine content that is a labyrinthine area of security that very few people understand. I love creating content around it. I am a recovering entrepreneur. I've started and sold multiple cybersecurity startups. I'm a recovering hacker. I've hacked over 100 APIs in health, financial services, and automotive. And I recently presented to Gartner. So that was kind of cool. To me, it was kind of ironic, or I guess paradoxical, but me presenting to Gartner analyst about the state of the API security market was a lot of fun. I love my buddies over at Gartner. I know you'll hear me sometimes knock the analyst industry, but they do some good work and they do some good things out there. However, I do want to say, and I do want to point the pink elephant out in the room. Yes, I am aware of the August article that came out from Gartner on the API security market. I believe it was August of 2019 when it came out, 2019, 2020, that talks about securing APIs, and it talks about securing them with API gateways and WAFs. We're going to talk about that, okay? But also, I have operational experience in building out a project plan and defining the functional requirements document and rolling out API security solutions to secure APIs. So that's why you should listen to me. Other than the fact that I got awesome purple hair, which isn't very purple right now, I guess. I need to go back to the salon. And my badass studio setup, that's why. Okay, so let's be clear. This is what not to do when securing your APIs. These were the biggest fails that I encountered when hacking APIs in my research. These APIs that I successfully breached were behind these solutions. Yes, I did read that Gartner article. I do know it talks about securing them with API gateways and WAFs. I do not agree. Now, this is a big reason why I always like to say and make sure everyone understands I am not pay for play. All right. I do not create content around what companies pay me to say about them or not say about them. They understand that when I'm working with them, that I'm very opinionated. often, many of you know, very controversial, as you saw from the elusive videos. And I will say what I believe is right. I'm not going to, throw someone into some kind of quadrant or any other categorization because they are paying a significant amount of money to me in order to highlight them or, say that they're better than another product. I will tell you right now that everything that I say is backed up by empirical evidence of me hacking it. All right. So yes, I have successfully breached APIs that were behind API management gateways. I am a firm believer, and many of you may key my car for this, and I will probably lose some followers in the analyst community for saying this, but I still love you guys over at Gartner. I still love you. The thing is that even I believe, and again, many of you may disagree, but I believe that security should not be a feature of a management product. Security should be baked into the product from the ground up and purpose built as an API security solution. I do not believe that an API management gateway should wake up one day and say, oh my God, there's all this budget that we are losing from the CISO's office. So we need to add security functionality so we can gain some of that market share, and we're going to add security as a feature to our product. So all they need is this API management solution that offers security. Do all of you remember that? Does that bring back really horrible memories? For those of you, I'm going to date myself right now, but do all of you remember those TV VCR combos? What happened when your VCR died? All you had was a TV. And when your TV died, all you had was a VCR. Same thing with API management gateways. I radically believe it's just visceral to my soul that API security should not be a feature of a management product. It's wrong, and it's the reason why these APIs are getting breached. Don't do it. All right. WAFs. Don't do it. The APIs speak HTTP protocol, but that sure as hell doesn't mean you should secure it like a web server. WAFs don't understand context. Raise your hand if you agree with me that the best security solution is one that understands context. That's why snort signatures sucked so bad. That's why signature-based detection sucks. It doesn't understand context with security. All right, so same thing with WAF. I think that they do a great job at looking for very simple things like SQL injection in a form query, right? Select star, whatever, I don't think that because rules-based security doesn't understand context behind what it's seeing, it's not effective. So I don't believe that WAFs work in securing APIs. Just because I'm authenticated with an API, which means I should be there and I have a token, how does that mean that I'm authorized to see the data I'm requesting? That's context and security. There's a difference between authentication and authorization, right? How is a WAF going to know that? Right? This is the reason that so many of the APIs that I successfully breached were behind WAFs. I believe that the reports that are going out there by the analyst community that are saying that API management and WAF should be used to secure APIs is dangerous. I said it. Yep, I said it. It's dangerous because I can tell you as a hacker that I've successfully breached APIs that were behind goddamn WAFs. It's like trying to nail in a screw with a hammer. It's the wrong tool for the job. I'm not saying that WAFs shouldn't be purchased. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be in your network to secure web servers, but API endpoints aren't web servers. They shouldn't be secured like web servers. You should be using an API threat management solution. All right, rules-based security. Basically, what I'm talking about here in this whole genre of security controls is rules. They're looking for static rules that are indicative of nefarious traffic, synthetic traffic. So this is, again, logic-based attacks are not going to get detected. So just because I'm authenticated and I should be there, doesn't mean I'm authorized to see it and what I'm requesting. I'm afraid to look at the chat window because a lot of you are probably flaming me who disagree, but I'm going to check anyway. Jeff Trower, thank you for backing me up. Amen to that. Yeah, anyone else who agrees, please put it in the chat because it'll just kind of prop up my self-esteem. Ashley, thanks for joining us. Envoy Messenger, former ambassador with Ori OAuth Keeper with per method jot validation keto WAFs are useless. I love you, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thanks for backing me up, everyone. Yes, cool. I guess those of you who actually did disagree have probably disconnected by now. And they were probably analysts. No, I'm just kidding. I do love the analyst command. I'm not, this is not an attack on analysts. But I guess kind of some way it is. But, look, you all know I speak the truth. I say it like it is. It's just the way it is. All right. I disagree. I think API management gateways should not be used as security products. It's stupid. It's fucking stupid. Sorry. All right. No more 4-letter words. No more French, I promise. All right. Let's talk about functional requirement documents. I get made fun of because I feel like I always need to create a project plan to get a cup of coffee. Hopefully all of you have your coffee right now. It's the breakfast of champions. It's an all-day thing for me. So what is an FRD? It's very different from a BRD, which is a business requirements document. A functional requirements document is basically just what are your functional requirements from the product. All too often, I see a lot of you just go out there and let's buy this because, I don't know, SC Magazine said it won in the group review. Okay, maybe not my followers, maybe other security engineers, or other CISOs. But fill in the blank here. This was, okay, I'm going to say it. This was in the top right-hand corner of the Magic Quadrant. We have to buy this because it was in the Magic Quadrant. So stupid. So I believe that an FRD is very, very simply put, it's just laying out what are your requirements from what you want to buy. And this should be created before you go out there and shop for your product. So it's basically a formal statement that lays out your requirements. Unlike a BRD, the BRD describes high-level business needs, while the FRD outlines the functions required to fulfill the business needs. Yes, I'm reading right now. Sue me. But I can't memorize all this. But yeah, I'm not saying that BRDs are useless. I think you should have a business requirements document and you should understand why you're buying a security control from a business context. But I think we we as practitioners tend to more rely on like what are the functional requirements from this, like meaning are you requiring supervised ML models for some reason? Or do you only want to buy unsupervised ML model based products? That sort of thing. And just functional requirements. Does it have to be a SaaS solution? Do you not want to host any pizza boxes in your data center? Do you want to reach out to it? Functional requirements, right? Basically, BRD answers what the business wants to do, while an FRD gives an answer to how it should bed. Did I really just put bed? Clearly, I created this PowerPoint like an hour before this presentation. That's a typo, clearly. Okay, so BRD answers what the business wants to do. FRD gives an answer to how it should be. I have no idea what I was trying to say there. Basically, BRD and an FRD are completely different documents, and the functional requirements is probably the most common thing you're going to create because it's going to lay out the requirements from the product. Done. Okay, so what the FRD should contain when you're reviewing API security products. First and foremost, write this down. This is very exhaustive. You don't have to write down. I'm recording it, but write this down. Think about it. These are really important. Okay, this is what I find have been the most instrumental and most critical features of an API security solution. So first and foremost is discovery. You can't protect what you don't know you have. We as CISOs, we as security practitioners are getting to a point where we need to monitor and secure not only just dozens of APIs, but in some cases hundreds, and other cases thousands. I ran into an organization in hacking APIs that they had over 1,600 APIs. The footprint of API deployments is getting much bigger and bigger. So you want something that's going to continuously scan your environment and or passively look at that traffic and find those APIs. And most importantly, data classification. Not only just finding those APIs, but knowing what data is being served by those APIs. Like me as a defender, if I know that I need to defend my organization's APIs against attack, I want to make sure that the data that those APIs are hosting I want to know which APIs have regulated data, like PHI. Which APIs are the highest risk APIs to my organization, right? Which API endpoints are serving PCI, like actually contain billing data or billing information. Those are the things that I want to know about and where they are. And the continuous discovery should be continuous, meaning that, the biggest problem not only is shadow IT, but shadow APIs, right? Our developers spawning up new APIs without us knowing about it. It happens. It is like I'm working with one organization right now where every one of the developers has a login into their cloud service provider. I think it's AWS, and each one can just start up instances and workloads and just start up new APIs facing the internet. Shadow APIs is a real issue. So make sure you have that continuous discovery and also continuous classification of data they're hosting. Make sure it's context aware. Again, it should be context aware. It should be aware of what data is flowing into and out of your APIs. It should have brains, right? This is another reason why I'm not a big proponent of WAFs securing APIs is, again, because they don't understand that context. Inside out, it should protect from the inside out, not outside in. A lot of you have heard me say this, and I've put it in the white papers that I write. I believe that the castle and moat mentality of defense, I believe defense in depth is dead. Okay. The idea of the castle being inside the moat is gone. The moat is actually completely gone. Everything's just all over the place. And now that we're in this work from home environment, I believe that you need to first figure out what it is you're trying to secure and build everything like layers of an onion around that. There is no such thing as a trusted intranet. There's no such thing as a trusted user. I'm working with an organization right now where insider threat is a real pervasive problem. And I'm a big believer in zero trust. I don't believe you should trust the employees just because they work for you. I don't believe that you should trust the intranet just because it's the intranet. I think you need to first find what you're trying to protect and secure everything inside out from there, not outside in. Machine learning. Huge proponent of ML. We live in a very exciting time right now where ML is a real thing. 20 years ago, people would laugh and say, oh my God, all the false positives, big data. Well, ML used to be big data, and now it's ML. But basically, it's changed. Things have changed. And ML actually works. It's actually a thing. And so I think, this is my belief, there's just too much data going in and out of APIs for signatures to work. I think you need something like random forest, like a lot of these other supervised and unsupervised ML models that are just constantly looking at traffic and categorizing it and baselining it and looking for anomalies, looking for things outside of that. This user has never asked for /patient 1002. They're always at requesting patient/patient 1001. So this is an anomalous behavioral activity for a specific user. Those are the kind of things that are very instrumental and I think very critical in a security solution, is that capability to apply ML models to really just baseline that traffic. OWASP API Security Top 10. Your API Security solution should be able to protect you against the top 10 from OWASP API Security. Your vendor should have content around it. Your vendor should be explaining some and providing some empirical data around what those individual API attacks look like. This is very important. This is why there's a few Medium articles out there on this and what BOLA vulnerabilities actually look like in the wild. You need to know when to spot it. You need to know when you're looking at an attack that's covered in the OWASP API top 10. User behavior anomalies, again, being able to baseline and alert on deviations from learned user patterns or user behavior is very important. And again, I don't think you should be looking at any API threat management solution where security is just a feature. The API management solutions, API gateways are critical. They are important. The Apaches of the world, the Kongs of the world, AWS has some, Azure has one. They're necessary, but I don't believe we should put API security as a layer on top of it and expect it to be great at both and serve multiple masters. I just don't believe in it. Woman in the middle attacks. Your API security solution, when you're shopping for one, you should make sure that it can prevent woman in the middle attacks or person in the middle attacks. Especially with mobile APIs, this is a pervasive problem. I can tell you that of the 3 projects that I've looked at, that's 90 mobile apps, none of them implemented certificate pinning. I mean, it's a real problem, and it's really easy to implement. There were some instances. Are you all ready for this? Are you sitting down? This is funny. This is funny. One of them actually implemented pinning, but only implemented it on the authentication. Once you authenticated, I could turn the proxy back on and turn my MIDM tool back on, like Burp Suite, and immediately start performing a WIDM tool, WIDM in the woman in the middle attack. It was awesome. It was awesome. But again, sloppy logic there, right? Just implementing it on the authentication screen. I authenticate. Once I authenticate, I'm good. I can start up my WIDM tool. Application impersonations. This is really important. You want to make sure that your security control can make a determination between what is a legitimate mobile app and what is a fake app, right? Impersonating the legitimate app. It's possible. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be putting some content out soon where I actually take a mobile app, I make modifications to the mobile app, and then I re-roll it, I rebake it. I've got a fake app. And then what happens if I push that app out to unsuspecting users and say it's a new version of the app and it's modified, right? They should download it. It's a real concern. So make sure your control can detect that. The next thing is account takeover. It should be able to prevent fake account creation and account takeover, or what's called ATO. These are, again, how's a WAF? Just totally hit myself with my microphone. That was awesome. So watch someone tweet that and put it on Twitter. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I've never been turned into a meme. If anyone wants to create a meme of me, that would be amazeballs. Yeah, ATO is a real pervasive problem as well. Again, authentication versus authorization, being able to understand and delineate between once you've authenticated, the importance of authentication and that you have a legitimate account, and authorization, that you're authorized to request the data that you're requesting. This is something you need to actually check with your APIs. This is something that your security control should be able to detect and understand that. Again, how's a WAF or an API management solution, how is it going to understand the distinction between that when it's just looking for things like SQL injection? Layered security. Again, one of the things that I ran into was a lot of the mobile apps were simply just looking to see if it's being run in a debugger or if it's being run on a jailbroken phone. That's not security, everybody. Let's be honest. Let's point the pink elephant out in the room. Just checking to see if the phone is jailbroken does nothing. A lot of these attacks I ran on an iPhone that wasn't jailbroken. I don't need it to be jailbroken to do a lot of the attacks that I perform. Synthetic traffic is another one. You want to make sure that your security control can make a distinction between human traffic and synthetic traffic. Traffic that's generated by a tool is synthetic traffic. So something that may be performing a credential dump, credential stuffing. Right? Credential stuffing attack for an ATO. Those are things that you want to make sure that it can do. And then most importantly, again, go fuzz yourself, meaning that the reason why fuzzing and API hacking is so important as a penetration tester, why you need to know how to fuzz, is because fuzzing is really in the most lay terms I can explain it, is sending stimulus, getting the response, and then taking that response and then creating a brand new version of that stimulus to elicit a different response, an anticipated response that you're hoping to get. Fuzzing is just taking stimulus and response over and over and over and checking different permutations of that stimulus and sending it back over to the API again and seeing what the API does. You know, just fuzzing different URIs. And taking that response and modifying it ad hoc in real time. Now, there's some great fuzzers out there, some free open source tools. I'm actually in the process of creating some content for one of my API security clients on that. You don't even have to go out and commercially pay for these things. There's some great open source tools out there. And for those of you who use them, feel free to put them in the chat right now. There's about 2 or 3 of them that I'm writing about. But if you know of any yourself, definitely put them in there. There's some great GitHub projects out there for some great fuzzers. It's really important that all of you who are pen testers and that are watching right now, that you know how to fuzz, because it's so important in API security testing. Okay, let me go back to chat and check on everybody. So Ashley asked a great question. Why do you want certificate? I mean, look, you can poke holes in anything. No pun intended. Okay, pun intended. Yes, you can get around pinning. I get that, but you can also get around everything else that I'm talking about right now. You know, I think pinning is important because it's one additional layer of headache. It's one additional thing that will kind of keep the script kiddies at bay. People don't really use that term anymore, I know. But keep the script kiddies at bay. The people that aren't as sophisticated don't really know how to get around pinning. Yes, I know there's free to look. I get that it's not the silver bullet, but nothing really is. Even if you think about it, Ashley. Oh, thanks, Jared. WFuzz is a good one. If you think about it, Ashley, there's even code obfuscation, obfuscating your mobile app code, application shielding. It's possible to get around that as well. So I would urge all of you to, and there's also developers who feel like it's possible if you implement certificate pinning to brick your app because the certificate expires. But there's solutions like, for example, Approve that make certificate pinning a lot more manageable, easier to administer and manage. Yes, I agree with you. There's also implementing trust on public certs and mandatory HTTPS. All this stuff, I agree with you, is good. However, also actually be careful of that because mandatory HTTPS doesn't actually foil woman in the middle or person in the middle attacks. If you look at Minim Proxy or even Burp Suite, if I'm understanding your question properly, if you look at those tools, you're actually sending a self-signed certificate in both directions and you're decrypting that SSL traffic. So if you've seen that video that I created on the mHealth research, you can see I'm actually implemented myself in the middle of an SSL session, and I'm using Minim Proxy in Burp Suite as an alternative with Postman to decrypt that. So good stuff. Okay. So the API security market, let's talk about that. Again, it's very early on, and this isn't a knock on the API security market. It's just that it's very nascent, it's new, it's very fractured. There's different approaches to API security. There's inline API security solutions, there's passive, there's also shift left. So I'm going to talk about the way I view things, the way I view the API security market is I really believe it's a dichotomous market. Okay, so there's this perfect dichotomy, I believe, of 2 different solutions, shift left and shield right. Shift left and shield right. And within that dichotomy are 3 buckets. And I believe those 3 buckets to be development time solutions, design, time, solutions, and deployment. And so one of these solutions, 42 Crunch, for example, fits as a great solution in a lot of these. But these three categories of products are divided into two overall buckets, like I described, and this is it. This is the API security market to elucidate. So I believe, if you can see my mouse arrow, you've got design, which is really security architecture. And so many of us forget about that. So many of us forget about the importance of security architecture. We're still seeing flat networks today. It's 2021. How many years after the Target breach? When was the Target breach? What, 10 years ago? I mean, we're still seeing flat networks. But security architecture is so important. And so there's certain solutions that actually fall within that design phase in shift left security. 42 Crunch and Approve are great products for this. Development. 42 Crunch will actually scan your lines of code and actually warn the developer when they're doing stupid things, when they're doing things that aren't so great to do. With solutions like Approve, there's very little friction with developers, and they're actually able to compile the SDK with the mobile app. And then what happens is Approve sits in front of that API and it says, oh, wait, hold on. You're not an API request that was generated from the SDK, so I'm not going to talk to you. Now, if you look at the mHealth research that I published where I hacked those 30 API mobile health APIs and accessed all that PHI, that was we then tried the same attack but with Approve in front of it, and all of my attacks failed. So these security controls really do work, so long as they're configured properly and deployed properly. But just remember, I'm a big believer in implementing security controls that shift left all the way to shielding right. Now, in the development stage, 42 Crunch has a very interesting approach to API security where you can actually import your open API, what used to be called the Swagger file. You can import that open API file into 42 Crunch, and it will actually scan it, and it will determine if the open API file matches up with the capabilities of the API. And there's a lot of actually published breaches in the wild from API breaches where there was a case where the front end supported fewer requests than what the backend API server could support. And so it was relying on that front end for security. So someone took an API client and sent manual API requests that the API server supported. And so there was this mismatch, right? There was this mismatch between that Swagger and that back end. I know it's called OpenAPI. I love calling it Swagger file. I just think it's a cool word, Swagger. Anyway, deployment. Now, this is where a lot of other API security solutions play. So you've got companies like Traceable that uses distributed tracing. You've got Salt Security that believes that you shouldn't be in line. You should hang passively off of a span port or a tap and really just kind of ingest or suck that API traffic in and analyze it. And, that's not necessarily the wrong answer either. You've got companies like Forum Systems where they're coming and saying, you know what, you should be in line and you should be interdicting that API traffic and inspecting it and making a determination on whether or not it gets passed onto that API. Same thing with 42 Crunch. It's a shield right solution where you're actually proxying your API traffic through 42 Crunch. Now, you may be thinking, oh, but Alyssa, what if it goes down? Yeah, okay, that's been the age-old question since the dawn of time from inline solutions. But we still make them, we still implement them, and there's high availability failover stuff, and especially with the cloud, that makes that possible. All right, so yeah, it's another option. Same thing with Approve. That's a shield right solution where it's interdicting all the API traffic and saying, unless you are traffic that's been generated by our SDK, you're not allowed to talk to the API. And I did test it. It does work. It does do what it says it does. And that's a big reason behind the I guess you can say the mission of Night Inc., where a lot of you may be like, what exactly does Night Inc. do? Yeah, I see you create these amazing DreamWorks style videos, you create these amazing papers, but what is it you do? Well, the purpose, my why at Night Inc. is to stop. I think a lot of you CISOs and buyers are sick and tired of seeing the white papers out there that talk about themselves and they talk about their features and how they're better than this company. And, I believe that features are just commoditized. Like any your competitor can recreate those features easily, just like that in their next release. I'm a big believer in blue ocean strategy, where you eliminate your competition by making it irrelevant. And I'm a big believer in Simon Sinek's why, that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so the reason I work with these vendors is I create content around their why, not what their features are or how they work. Those can be reproduced, but why you need it. So I give you all content from the perspective of an adversary, where I hack an API or I hack a network and I show how that security product would have prevented it. It's plain and simple. I used to be a buyer. I'm still a buyer. I work as a virtual CISO for many organizations, and I'm evaluating these products, and I want to know. I don't give a shit about your features. I want to know whether or not your product does what the marketing material says it does. And that's the point of Night Inc. Okay? All right. That's it, everyone. That is the API security market according to Alyssa Knight. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn off screen sharing. I'll come back to all of you. Matt Lee, sorry you had to drop, it looks like. Or you were saying see you later to someone else. But I appreciate all of you for joining us today. Kite Runner, thank you, Tiny, is yes, an amazing tool. I love Kite Runner. A lot of as a matter of fact, Katie Paxton, actually, I should say Dr. Katie Paxton Fear, just got her PhD. Dr. Katie Paxton Fear. And yes, that is her real last name. I just interviewed her as a guest on KnighTV, and we will be airing that episode soon. And she actually talks about it. Fear is really her last name. But yes, she is a big supporter of Kite Runner. It's a great tool. Um, so let's see, Christopher Daniels, SIM have their place, but must be implemented and managed properly. I agree with you. That was probably a response to someone else. Yeah, SIM solutions are important, and like anything, they need to be properly configured and tuned, and a constant OODA loop, constant improvement, always improving and tuning and making better over time. There are a lot of questions, everyone. Thank you for being so involved. All right, let me see if I can grab some of these. We have about 8 minutes, so we should be good. Matt Lee, machine learning is definitely awesome for that now, and more players using it in nascent products from players even in the SMB space. Yeah, it's really interesting. Actually, Katie is playing a lot with ML right now. This is like, if you are at all intrigued by, or data science floats your boat, ML is very wicked stuff. There is actually the Apache Foundation. As you know, there's not just the Apache web server. The Apache Software Foundation is actually sort of, I guess, this like umbrella, if you will, under a lot of these other GNU GPL open source projects. And one of them is actually an open source ML project. I can't remember the name of it. If any of you know the name of it, plop it into chat. I remember the graphics for it. There was like this cartoon dog. Anyway, it's an open source ML platform, and there's actually this open source ML powered sim, which was really cool. There's just a lot of really cool stuff happening with ML. So yeah, if any of you are all at all interested in it, I know a few people who are actually doing some really wicked things in API security with ML and going to be publishing some open source tools around it. So a lot of really cool stuff happening in ML. I completely agree with you, Ashley. So yeah, okay. Or Matt, sorry, Matt asked that question. enforce that your developers use open tracing and logging. Ashley, I agree with you. Tracing, definitely huge. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with them, Traceable AI just came out of stealth mode. Take a look at what they're doing with distributed tracing. There's some really wicked stuff going on with that, and it does make a difference. So I agree with you, Ashley. They must have visibility. Then from those logs, you filter to SIM. The only trusted source is source code. No human, just CD. Should get access production. I hate ML for operations. All products in that category suck. I actually, that's an interesting point. I, I will, uh, I will move on. There's a lot of other questions, but yes, I thank you for that input, Ashley. Matt Lee, I'm stupid happy I stumbled on this knowledge source. I will be a regular. Thank you for doing what you are doing. I am leaving, but not because I'm an analyst. Awesome, Matt. If you grabbed the last part of this, uh, yeah. Oh, Manuel. Hey, thanks for joining us, Mr. Vasquez. Um, he Manuel is one of the original employees of Briar and Thorn. I have a serious amount of love for you, Manuel. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Daydog is one of them. There's another one though. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It'll come to me. I'll put it in the comments later for those of you who are interested in it. But if you Google it, you'll find it. Sim, Snort, Curator are not good for company security. Just wanted to ask. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, the days of Snort are definitely gone, Deepak. I mean, that again, that's my opinion. Okay, so like it depends on your environment, depends on your budget. If you can't go out there and afford like a dark trace, like a network detection response solution, which I'm a huge fan of, check out Dark Trace, Vectra. There's a lot of great NDR solutions out there. The days of Snort and Snort Inline, I'm sorry, Deepak, are gone. And look, Applied Watch was the last company that I started and sold. It was an open source SIM for Snort. So that was like circa 2001, 2002. It's like 21 years later. So just, you know, things change. ML is a thing, and NDR uses ML versus signatures to detect attacks. With SIM solutions, you know, there's a lot of people that argue that that SIM is on its way out. Maybe I'll do an episode. I think that's a good episode to do. We'll do maybe in the next episode. We'll be on the death of SIM, but a lot of companies are actually moving to these massive data lakes with Elastic, feel that SIM never really lived up to its promise. Too many false positives. Death by noise. Trying to find the signal in the noise. So they've moved to Elastic, and they're looking at that, and there's people that say Splunk sucks and is too expensive and you shouldn't have to be charged for data ingest. There's a SIM solution from a company called Rapid7. Yes, you know them for Nexpose and Metasploit, but they also have a SIM, Insight. I forgot what's called, Insight something. But they actually do not charge for ingest. It's a flat rate. It's pretty interesting model. CD, Christopher. Yes, new shiny defense tool. There's some really, I gotta tell you guys, seriously, guys and girls, there's some really cool tools out there. Check them out. Like I said, the API security companies I mentioned in my market breakout, also some open source tools. There's just some really cool. And I am particular because of the work that I do at Knight Inc. I'm privy to some tools that all of you do not know about. I know about, are coming soon, and they're wicked cool. They are wicked cool. And yes, they are clients, and I will be doing some awesome videos around them and playing around with those tools. I'm going to definitely be putting more videos into my Workbench series. So definitely, yes, keep an eye out. There's some really cool stuff coming. And that's it. We are down to our final couple minutes. I see that there's a lot of comments and questions. I will get to those questions offline. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting my content. And for those of you who are trying to figure out how to support me, please go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, hit that bell button, follow me on Twitter if you're not already. All of my new content gets blasted out to those social media sites. And also, keep an eye out for my book. It's coming out. It's going to be coming out in early 2022. It's going to give you the tactics and techniques in hacking APIs as usual, I'm going to be providing some doctored or blurred out, redacted screenshots from actual API breaches and attacks that I performed. Um, but Deepak, thank you, Manuel, Christopher, Jared, Matt, all of you. Thank you for joining. Mel, thank you for joining. Let's go get that Chick-fil-A now. Everyone have an amazing weekend. You inspire me. I love all of you. Thank you.